everybody. This is Alan Fine for Virtual Roadshows. How top destinations around the world are selling adventure travel. You're going to get a chance to talk to two destinations that you never really get to talk to very often. That's Korčula in Croatia and Denmark. So let me introduce to you Mette Hansen, Program Manager, Leisure Tourism for Visit Denmark, and Miljana Borovic. Did I get it?
Yes.
You're being kind. But anyway, she's the managing director for Korčula's tourist board. So let's get right into talking about both destinations. Maybe start with Korčula. Tell us about Korčula in general terms, and then we'll get more specific.
I'll actually start with Croatia. So, as you know, Croatia is situated at the south part of Europe and is a part of the European Union, and as of last year, part of the Schengen zone, which makes it much easier to travel. And Korčula is an island at the very south of Croatia, part of Dubrovnik-Neretva County, very close to the town of Dubrovnik, which I believe everybody knows by the Game of Thrones. So it's very sunny, very beautiful weather destination, which we hope to be living year-round. And Korčula has been around for since the 13th century. So what you can see when you get to the island is a spectacular culture, spectacular old town, and then the rest of the island, which is really full of beautiful sceneries, the sea, the forests, and so on and so forth. Let's leave something for later.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was hoping we would do. Now, Denmark, other than the fact that Hamlet took place there, tell us more.
Yeah, so Denmark is the smallest and southernmost of the Scandinavian countries. And being southernmost, what most people don't know is that we actually have a pretty mild climate. So the winters don't get that harsh. We do get an occasional snowstorm, but some years it doesn't even snow. And the summers are also very mild, and you can go sea bathing. So a lot of people don't think about that when they think Scandinavia, but because we are that far south, that's the climate that we have. We are famous for our royal and Viking history, which are very rich and can be explored all over Denmark. We have very livable cities. We're famous for our happiness, our biking culture, and our hygge, which is our immersion of coziness into everything that we do, both indoors and outdoors. We have a very big gastronomy scene, and then we're famous for our architecture and design. And finally, I just want to mention that we call ourselves the land of everyday wonder because we have this hygge embrace of everything. So we find wonder in everything that we do. And being such a small country that we are, where it only takes 5 hours to drive from one end to the other, there's just wonders waiting to be discovered throughout the country.
All right, well, we'll go over them, I hope. So
Yes.
Let's talk about how your destinations cater to the adventure traveler. Let's start with Denmark.
Yeah, so Denmark is mostly catered towards the soft adventure travelers, where you look for more adventures where you immerse yourself into the local culture. So whether you want to go biking with a local chef in Copenhagen, where he has his kitchen on the bike and cooks for you along the way, or maybe you go oyster safaring in a UNESCO park. So these more local experience where you really get to meet the Danes. And then we have some bit more sporty adventures such as tree climbing, kayaking, and we have more than 4,500 miles of white sandy beaches, so a lot of coastline, which you also see here behind me. So we have tide, wind, and surfing, a lot of coastal adventures to be had. Yeah.
And so for Korčula, what's the how do you cater to adventure travelers?
Well, for many years, Croatia was perceived as a country where you just go and lay on the beach day long with change of the climate. Well, it's not bad at all, but still. But with the change of climate, obviously, it's getting a bit too hot, July and August, and realizing that the spectacular nature that we have, very untouched nature and beautiful beaches, wild and hidden coasts can be used for something else rather than lying around the beach all day long. We have decided to start developing the adventure tourism, mainly focusing on cycling, hiking, but as well kayaking, windsurfing, all kind of different sea sports, including diving, scuba diving, and all the rest. Given that the island is very much agricultural island as well, they have a high production of indigenous wines and olive oil. We decided to join these adventure experiences with the gastro experiences. So while you're cycling around, you can actually visit wineries, you can visit local taverns where really you still can have tomato directly for the garden onto your table. So we are trying to really do 365 days of tourism, really thanks to this great climate that we have, that really in the winter is about 20 degrees Celsius, which allows you to be outdoorsy as much as you want and as much as possible. Obviously, we use this cultural heritage that we have been blessed with, thanks to our ancestors. And so again, while utilizing all these adventure activities, you can still visit the different heritage sites. And then we try to explain to everybody that you can always be a Marco Polo while you're on the island. So as he was exploring exploring all these countries on the way to China, you can do that while exploring the island as well. So it's.
Why are you targeting the adventure market? Just how lucrative is the market, or do you project the market to be? And who? Let's go with the who wants to answer first?
I can go ahead.
Okay.
So I think for us, for Denmark, we have kind of been in the shadow of our neighbors, which is so big in adventure travel. We have Norway, Iceland, Sweden all around us, and they're doing so well in adventure travel. We've kind of been in the shadow, but in that way, we're also a bit under the radar, which means that there's so many opportunities to discover new experiences in Denmark. And if you have clients who want to discover something, do something that not everybody else is doing, then Denmark is the perfect way to go and have some adventures. So in that sense, it's very lucrative because there's such a great potential for growth. And that's also why Denmark is perfect for travel trade, because a lot of the suppliers in Denmark are not really at the moment catering so much to international tourists. They just cater to the local people. So they need travel advisors. If you're traveling to Denmark, you would need a travel advisor to know these places, because you can't just Google it or book it through an OTA.
Well, so by the end, we'll make sure to give them information on how to know it better.
Yes.
And Korchula, the same question. What are you already seeing that it's lucrative, or do you project it?
Well, basically, we can almost relate to what Mette said. The country itself was always in the shadow of these traditionally strong Mediterranean countries like Italy, Greece, Spain, France, and so on and so forth. Now we are seeing many of French and Italian, the US travelers, British travelers coming to Croatia and discovering Croatia, and with that, obviously, Korčula. In addition to that, I think what my colleague said, that and the local people are discovering new new ways to attract the tourists, but also it always relates to their own interest. And then as interest of local people and Croatian people are turning towards the active tourism, that's how they project it in their businesses. I believe that in past few years we have seen an increase in development of active tourism and the increase in tourists that are interested in hiking, cycling, and so on and so forth. But at this moment in time, we are still in a position that we have to work very hard, and that's why we are here today, to get our destination known as an active tourism destination, and that's not only destination for 2 summer months, but really destination for the 12 months a year.
What I love about this is travel advisors are always looking for something new for their clients. And as you both said, you're the next logical progression, and it's almost virgin territory to the North American guest. So I'm glad we're doing this. Let's continue, and let me ask you, what are the top places within your destination for adventure travel? Korčula, let's start with you.
Well, Korčula is a very small island comparing to some other larger islands, not only in Croatia, but worldwide. We're only 50 kilometers long. So basically the whole island is one very attractive destination. Obviously, the town of Korčula is always the most attractive because of its cultural heritage and because of the gastronomy and all the rest. But the rest of the island is really ideal for the adventure as adventure destination. But when you look at Korčula, you always have to look a little bit further to Dubrovnik and to other neighboring islands and peninsulas, because they together make a perfect destination where you can within 45 minutes get to national park and explore the national park, or just across the channel in 15 minutes boat ride, and then explore another very interesting destination of Peninsula Pelješac, which is really famous for its red wine and famous for the oysters and mussel farms. And it's also, as well as Korčula, and together with Korčula, developing both hiking and cycling, rock climbing, mountain climbing. So that's why I say you should not always concentrate on one location within destination, but really wider.
And for Denmark, it's also benefits from the fact that it's not extremely large. And what are the top places for adventure travel there?
Yeah, so similarly, it's difficult to choose out specific places when it is the size that it is, but I want to highlight at least one place, that is the island of Bornholm. So Denmark is known for being very flat, but we have this island in the Baltic Sea, which is kind of on the other side of Sweden, so pretty far away, but it is part of Denmark. And this rocky, stony island is actually a place where you can go rock climbing. So a lot of people wouldn't know that that's something that you could actually do in Denmark, but that's a possibility. And they also do have some really great trips where you can either hike, bike, or kayak all the way around the island. And it's a really an island with a strong culture, so it's a great place to go and also immerse yourself into the local culture. Then we have the most northern tip of Denmark, which is North Jutland. Here you have locations such as Cold Hawaii, which is actually where the photo behind me is. And yes, you can go surfing there. I love to be able to surprise people a little bit. So rock climbing and surfing is stuff that you can do in Denmark. You can also go oyster safaring in the Limfjord in North Jutland, where you go on the seabed and you can pick up fresh oysters from the ocean, and you can have a guide with you who can open a bottle of bubbly, and you can enjoy that as you walk along. And then, of course, I have to mention Copenhagen, our capital city, is also a great place for adventure travel. I already mentioned the biking chef that we have. You can also go green kayaking in the harbor and discover the city from the waterfront. These kayaks are free to rent, and they have a bucket in the middle. So you actually, the only payment that you do is that if you happen to see any trash in the harbor, you pick it up, and that's your payment for renting the kayak. And I also want to mention Copenhagen, which is quite a fun, like it kind of brings in a lot of Danish, some of the things that we're famous for with our architecture and sustainability, because we have a power waste plant that was built into a ski slope. So you can actually go skiing in Denmark all year round. We have a ski slope, and on the side of it, there's also a hiking trail, and it also has the largest climbing wall in Europe. So
Very good.
another fun fact, skiing, rock climbing, and surfing in Denmark. Who knew?
For a travel advisor to sell your destination, how many days would you recommend that an average guest should spend? Let's start with Denmark.
Well, it really depends because there's so many different options. If you have clients that are willing to actually go and explore Denmark and go out, I would say anywhere between 5 and 10 days, but a lot of people come and mainly stay in Copenhagen, and then I would say 5 days is enough, and you can take some day trips outside of the capital city. But if you want to go out and explore more than 5 to 10 days, so you can actually, enjoy more.
And for Korchla, what do you think?
Would also say around 5 days. For several reasons, and it depends of their particular interests. So if somebody wants to go, I don't know, hiking around the island, we have few hundred kilometers of hiking routes, and recently we actually set up a 160-kilometer hiking route all around the island, and we connected it to Camino routes. So basically, you can do pretty much similar as you would do it in Spain with all the stamps and getting compostelas and everything. So it's 160 kilometers around the island. That would take you about 5 to 6 days to walk. We also have a few hundred kilometers of cycling routes, and the longest one would be again around the island of 180 kilometers. So if you really want to explore the island in that manner, you really would need almost a week to visit. If you're not that much of cycling and hiking enthusiast, and just want to hop around and do some mild exercises, then as I said earlier on, you can really spend a few days on the island hiking, cycling, windsurfing, and so on and so forth. But then again, you can visit Mljet National Park, walk around the national park. It's a little bit of wonder because there is a little lake on the island, which is not. It's very unusual to have that. Or as I said earlier on, just across channel to Peninsula of Pelješac, again, do some hiking and cycling and mountain climbing. What is very interesting in Korčula is that we have very beautiful archipelago around the island. And really, ideal way to travel around is actually rent a kayak and kayak from island to island. One has a stone quarry, the other one has a Franciscan monastery. So there are always things that you can go, always things that you can visit. And what everybody has to do on the island is do some serious wine tasting, because we have over 40 wineries offering wine tasting across the island. Again, we're talking about 50-kilometer long island with so many wineries. So, I mean, you just absolutely have to do it. And along with the wineries and with wine, because actually you are walking through vineyards and you're walking through olive groves, you just have to do some olive oil tasting. The olive oil has EU origin protection, so you can be sure that it's the best of the best. And then all this restaurant and gastro scene sort of evolved from that. So in a tiny little town of 3,000 people, we actually have a Michelin star restaurant, a green Michelin star restaurant, and one with Michelin recommendation. Just explain how high a level of gastronomy we have.
It's first of all, Mette, Miliana, by asking her how long we should stay and came up with 5 days. All this other stuff came out. So I want to give you a chance on Denmark. What else? And do you want to revise your amount of time you need to go to Denmark?
Well, I still think the amount of time is fair to what I said before, but we do have. Well, I do want to add that I think if you want to stay longer, it would usually be where you spend like maybe 3 or 4 days in Copenhagen, and then you travel out and see the rest of the country. And then we actually, just to add, because we keep, I want to keep surprising you guys. We also have wineries in Denmark. Ever since 2000, we have been a warm enough country to produce wine, and they produce wine to all of our Michelin-starred restaurants. So it's very, very high quality wine as well. So just a little insight there as well.
Where should travel advisors find out about your destinations? Kortchula, is there a URL that they should be using, and is there a specific portal for travel advisors?
Well, obviously, we have our website as well as an island website where all this, what I was telling you about, is very clearly described with additional information on the tourist agencies, on accommodation, even all this GPS data on different routes and so on and so forth.
What's the URL?
Visit kortchula.eu.
.eu. Got it. And so we'll
as well, we have another website that covers whole island, which is visitkortchulaisland.com.
Okay. And then for Denmark, where should travel advisors be looking?
Yeah, well, for general information about the country, we have our visitdenmark.com site where you can just go and get inspired by all the experiences you can have. But then at the top of that page, you can find a little thing saying travel professionals. If you go in there, you'll find all sorts of researches such as training, webinars. We have itineraries. We have a soft adventure itinerary, so you can see some more about the things I talked about. You can also sign up for a newsletter where we try to keep people up to date with new hotel openings and so on in Denmark. And then I think a resource I have to mention is us. As I said, the suppliers in Denmark are not. They maybe have websites in Danish and so on. So if you need us to open any doors for you, need connections to incoming agencies, you can always reach out, and we're happy to open the doors for you and put you in contact with the right people.
And so that website where they can do that is what?
That would be reaching out to my email or contacting us. We also have a contact email on the website that you find as soon as you go into the travel professional site. Yeah.
Okay. And so the other thing is that this could never possibly explain the destination properly in this short amount of time, but you have booths, right? And the people watching this hopefully will be excited to go actually meet with you and your folks, whoever's manning those booths. So I encourage everybody watching to do that. Well, I want to thank you both for spending a little time with us and giving us a little taste of your destinations. I wish you both good luck. And this is Alan Fine for Insider Travel Report and Virtual Roadshows.